Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Challenge. Finally back on this once again, hopefully this time recurring for good. This is episode number 22, and this is the series where you guys give me the challenges based off the games I own and to see if I can go and beat them. Today's challenge comes from Chris250505. And his challenge is for me to beat his score on Drift Track 6 of around, 500, I think it's 519,290, but we kind of, for the challenge, we rounded it up to 520,000 just to add just that little bit extra challenge. On Drift Track 6, using only either the Mazda RX-7, the Nissan 350Z, or the Honda S2000 in 5 laps. And no handling upgrades that I could put on the car. I was able to fully upgrade it with everything else like top speed, acceleration, and anything, but anything that directly affected handling, which in this game is the brakes, tires, and suspension, wasn't allowed to be used. Weight reduction also adjusts the handling stat in game, but that was considered to be accepted, so I went ahead and put that on. Now, you might think right away, oh, I'm already off to a bad start. Well, I should mention that I did test all 3 of these cars before I started doing this recording off screen, and what I discovered about these cars is that the RX-7 I found I was the most comfortable with because it is loose, but it's very easy to get into a big slide and get a really good chain going, so it's really easy to build up and just get a lot of points with it. The S2000 is also a really excellent drift vehicle. It's a little more balanced and restrained. It doesn't slip as much as you see here with the RX-7, but it's still very excellent at getting like really good point combos going to the point where it would also, just like the RX-7, it would also be an excellent choice. The 350Z though was pretty bad. The problem with the 350Z is when you get into a drift, it kind of lacks the torque for some reason needed to really kind of keep it spinning and keeping it going in a long streak. So you end up cashing in on points for your drift way earlier than you would like to. So with that one, you really got to get it in like bursts rather than a continuous stream. And for me, when it comes to drifting in this game, I find that if you can keep it more of a continuous stream like with the RX-7 or the S2000, regardless if you're making mistakes like this, it's at least way easier to do so. I should have probably used the S2000 because I wouldn't be spinning out as much, but the RX-7, I'm kind of used to the way it drives in general, so whereas the S2000 I'm a little more unknown with, but I was like, it does to me. So long as I can get the points, that's all that matters. And as you can see, as we head into the 3rd of the 5 laps available to us, I started with over 200,000 points, which means I was pretty much on a good roll. Because pretty much the average, if I was to get 520,000 points, is I'd have to average roughly around 104,000. So it's quite a daunting task, but doable if you keep everything together and just do it sort of like this. Like this lap is, I think, a better example of showing off just what happens when when I'm kind of more in my groove. I'm not losing anything. It's all coming nicely together. There was a lot of takes I had to do on these off screen just to try to get myself familiar with it, and believe me, that was definitely the case. I don't even think this was the first attempt for this. I usually run on a 3 or a 5 take chance with these, and I gave myself 3 chances for this, and I believe this was my 2nd run, is the one that you're seeing here, as you will see why that was the one I went for here. But yeah, despite the whole sliding issues, as you see, I was doing relatively well, not even before the halfway point into lap 4, and I was already closing in on 350,000. So it was definitely looking pretty promising, to say the least. There was definitely a really good potential that this could, mistakes aside, this could be a very good run. I'm also kind of noticing as I'm doing this that I can get out a lot of my thoughts better for words and stuff. When I was doing the live commentary, if that had gone through, I was a lot more quieter, and I think that's just because I was really trying to focus, trying to get my mindset into what I was doing, so I'm not screwing it up as much. But I think when I'm watching it back, I can just easily my mind can kind of conjure off elsewhere and think about other things to talk about and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, And now, how does this car compare without the handling upgrades? I would say probably without it is why I was slipping around a lot. I think if you were to add the handling upgrades to this car, it definitely would make the car, I guess, a little more stable and feel a little more solid around these drifting lines and everything. Without it, you know, you feel the slip up, and it's, you know, definitely a lot more of something you have to take into a hold of. But even despite that, it's once you get it, it's not too difficult to the point where it's like you gotta suddenly memorize everything again if you use this regularly. So yeah, as you see here, I had just a few more corners to go, and I was already now up onto 500,000. So I was getting really close, and now at this point, all I needed to do was to just nail these last bits. And as you see, well, we're getting really close. And if you know how to math, we have successfully hit over 520,000. In fact, we finished with a grand total of 530,774. So we bested it by over 10,000 points. So yeah, you could say this is another challenge completed. So hooray for that. I've got another challenge coming up for Chris250505 in the next video, because just how I was kind of putting everything in. So different game though, but it is still a bit of a kind of like a target objective to reach in terms of a score. So we'll see if I can manage that in the next episode. But if you got any challenges you would like to see me do, feel free to leave it down below in the comments. I'll pin a comment which will show the list of all the games I have or the game's interest. So that should hopefully give you some ideas of games I will do challenges of. But in the meantime, though, thank you so much for stopping by, and feel free to check out some of my other videos, and I will catch all of you on the next one.